Everyone, I'm Sean Rivera. I'm the organizing manager with Move Texas. We're a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization working to make politics more accessible to young people. You definitely might see us around campus if you're not just taking online classes. We register voters, we make sure everyone's updated about elections that are coming up, and we answer any other questions they may have that are preventing them from being civically engaged. Of course, since this is over video, definitely feel free to reach out to us at movetexas.org if you have any extra questions. Let's see, so I'm going to actually just jump right in to respect your time as much as possible. So we have our voter registration card right here, and we also have this thing called the Pledge to Vote card. Since this is over video, we'll go ahead and provide your professor with any relevant links so you can access these same services, but I will use the physical ones for the example. Usually when we do these in person, we use a hand-raising exercise to kind of, through a process of elimination, determine what your voter registration status is and whether or not it would be good for you to fill out one of these cards. I'll go ahead and act that out anyway. Feel free to at least use the general principles of what I'm asking to figure out exactly what your status is. So, first question is, as a show of hands, who here is registered to vote at, who here is has registered to vote at some point in the past? Usually most people raise their hands there. It's a very common thing to be registered. Second question though, who here is registered to vote at their current residence address? Usually at that point a few hands will go down. I'll explain why that's very important. There are two main reasons. The first reason, which is a very important reason, is polling locations. So if you, let's say, are originally from Houston, and let's say that you are currently residing in Dallas for school or any other things, if you maintain your voter registration in Houston, you'll either have to do one of two things. You'll have to either make a 5-6 hour drive to go vote, or you'll have to go through a very lengthy process to vote by mail. There are a lot of deadlines involved. It's something that a lot of students just don't find the time for. To clarify what a residence address really means, the best rule of thumb is picture the pillow that your head is going to hit tonight, write the location of that pillow. If you're not registered there, your polling location may be a little bit more difficult for you to find. So, the last question after that, for those of you whose hands are still up, if you are registered to vote, and you are registered to vote at your current residence address, when you register, you get a little index card sized voter ID certificate in the mail. Keep your hand up if you can tell me where that card is right now. Mine's, where is it? I think it's in a safe under my bed where I put all my other stuff. So if you know where it is, then that's fantastic. If you don't, most people don't, there's never any harm in filling out another voter registration card to make sure that you have that card. The reason why it's important to have that card is in case there are any errors with your voter registration. A lot of people have misspelled names. They'll accidentally switch their mailing address and their residence address. And when you go to the polls, that can make it very difficult to go through the full process and actually get into the ballot box, essentially. If you have that card on you, though, and bring it to the polls, it'll really clear up that stuff if there are any typos or errors. Awesome. So I'm going to jump right into the card here. If you have a specific link, or if you even have one of these cards on you, or the mailer form of these cards, you can definitely follow along. So the first question here is basically what we determined with that hand-raising exercise. It asks whether this is a new application, a change of address, or a request for a replacement card. The next part of number one is whether or not you're a U.S. citizen. Unfortunately, you definitely do have to be a U.S. citizen to register to vote. If you're not a citizen, there are so many other ways that you can get civically engaged. And if you see one of our representatives on your campus, please feel free to ask us, and we would love to really bore you with a long spiel of all the awesome things you can be doing. Let's see. The next one is, will you be 18 on or before Election Day? In most cases, if you are 17 and 10 months old or older, you should be able to meet that cutoff. You should be able to register to vote. The only exception is if you have an election that is less than 2 months away. Let's see. The next one is, are you interested in serving as an election worker? In short, those are the people at the polls who check your ID, check your voter registration status to make sure everything's up to date and valid, and navigate you through the voting process, at least to the point where you're in the polls. Number 2 is pretty straightforward. You got your last name, your first name, and your middle name. If you have any former name, for example, through a marriage or something along those lines, definitely feel free to write that so it's a little bit easier for them to update your information. Right here on number 3, we have residence address. I know I'm being a tiny bit redundant with it, but it is important to make the distinction between residence and mailing address. For residence, like I said, the rule of thumb is picture where you commute to or where you are currently residing, and put that address. Let's see, of course, we have accompanying info, city, county, zip. Over here on number 4, we have your mailing address. So that's where you can be a lot more flexible. Let's say that your parents are out of town and you feel like that's a much more reliable address to send your mail. Feel free to write that. If you have a P.O. box, that's where you would write a P.O. box, or any number of other alternatives where you receive your mail. Now, number 5 here is city and county of former residence. If this is your first time registering, it's not particularly important to fill that out. If you know that you are registered somewhere else, feel free to fill that out. It definitely won't make a difference in whether or not the form is valid. It will make it a little bit easier to update your info though. Number 6 is pretty straightforward. We have your birthday. Number 7 and 8, those are both optional. I would recommend filling out number 8 because if there are any errors with your form, it'll give the elections department a chance to contact you and troubleshoot. Number 9 here, you actually have one of 2 choices. You can write down your Texas driver's license or personal ID, the state issued ID number, or you can put the last 4 of your social. If you want to put both, that's totally fine, but you don't have to. You can do whichever one's more convenient for you. On number 10 here, we have signature and today's date. I'm just going to make a distinction that it is asking for today's date, not your birthday. Some people will make that mistake. Awesome, so that's everything that you personally need to fill out. If you're doing it through the mailer form, at that point you would just fold it. It's already totally paid off. You don't need to put any postage on it. Slip it right in the mailbox, and within about 30 or so days you should be registered. I'm going to move on to this right here. So to make sure that this stays up to date and timely, I won't necessarily tie this to one specific election. There are lots of ones to always look out for. Of course, you have your presidential elections, but you also have municipal elections, midterm elections, all of the primary and runoff elections. You also have the constitutional amendment election. So definitely go to your county elections department's website to make sure that there's not one right around the corner. Although we can actually provide a service that will help you out a lot with that. This is a pledge to vote card. Now I'm going to also provide a link to your professor to that sign-up sheet as well, a digital version of this. What we do, we are nonpartisan, so we will not tell you who to vote for, but we will send you a text, email, or call, depending on your preference, when early voting begins for an election in your area, when early voting is almost finished, so you have a chance to early vote, and then one more before election day, so you can have a last chance. At any point, if you respond to those messages and let us know that the message was received, you won't hear from us again for several months until the next election. We definitely make sure not to spam. If you have any questions about your polling location or anything like that, the good thing is it's actually us on the other end, so we will be able to help you troubleshoot. Let's see, so all you'll do on the digital form is provide your name, your phone number, and if you would like, your email, if you'd like email reminders. You can also feel free to put your birthday. The main reason why we would collect that is just in case you're under 18. If you're under 18, we'll wait until your 18th birthday to actually remind you about elections, and we'll also send you a quick reminder when you're 17 and 10 months old to let you know that you are now eligible to fill out a voter registration form. Under that, and also on the digital form, we have 3 things here. Definitely make sure to check the text me box. That'll let us message you those reminders. Also, if you're ever interested in volunteering with us, you can fill out the volunteer checkbox right there. Also, might be a little bit biased, but this is the most fun job I've ever had. usually leads to retail. So if you would ever be interested in joining our team, helping other students get registered to vote, doing any of the awesome activism and advocacy that we do here at our organization, definitely feel free to as well check the join the team box, and one of our representatives can contact you, help you get an internship, a fellowship, really any potential position depending on openings. Yes, and that's mostly it. Am I missing anything, Erica? Fantastic. And so thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you all have a great day.
Happy voting!